a surprisingly refreshing amount of positive feedback on screencasts. Is something I'm not used to, but I'm getting some from you wonderful young people. So I'm going to make a week 3 screencast that just generally sort of walks you through, well, what is going to be somewhat of a habit that we develop in the course of composing each essay, getting to the feedback and revision phase, which is the most important part of the writing process for my money's worth. You brainstorm your topic, you think about what is the best subject, what's the best sort of overall layout for the essay, what's going to give you your best chances for success, and then you try to execute that plan. And then here we are now in week 3, where you share your work, where you share that execution or your first attempts at that execution. Never forget that the word essay comes from the French, the word assay, A-S-S-A-Y, which means attempt. Mountain climbers assay mountains, and so an essay is an attempt. And so if you kind of mentally situate your essay as not this finished product, like as soon as I write it once it's finished, then you allow room for feedback to improve what you have already, at least to elicit like reader reactions before the sort of the high pressure situation of me grading it comes along anyway. So, well, what can I tell you about this week besides that we're going to get into the feedback. Everybody's doing a decent job at Google Docs, some much better than others, let's say. And I certainly have a learning curve built into my semester-long, plans for you all. But for those of you that haven't exactly distinguished yourselves in terms of sharing properties and resolving comments, the good news is there's still plenty of time for you to get this stuff figured out. So hopefully this red stuff, I put it in red because it's important. But in your Essay2 folder in Google Drive should be 2 different documents by the time I go to grade. A rough draft and a final draft. Okay, the rough draft should have the peer reviewers' comments on it because that's a graded activity, and then the final draft should be sort of fresh for me. Now, if you want me to look at your rough draft and put comments on it, I'll be happy to do that as well, and I'll probably just be kind of generally sneaking around in Google Drive and seeing how progress has come along for each of you. I like knowing who my early starters are. I like knowing the people who scramble to put anything together by the end. It gives me a sense of what kind of a student you are in terms of preparation, time management, work ethic, the sort of, let's call them soft skills that tend to make good students great students excellent, or good students, and average students below average, let's say. So anyway, I'll be kind of virtually stalking you anyway. The Essay2 assignment you should have read last week. In week 2, I also created a screencast for that. Go back and check it out. Some of you, as I go through the Angel discussion board discussions, discussion forums, I should say, I am seeing that a lot of you are picking, football field or my practice space, and that's fine. But try to distinguish yourself. Okay, try really hard to write that essay that no one's written yet, because we all learn the value of hard work. You know what I mean? So anyway, there's my brief guide to writing that many of you are consulting, and I hope the rest of you do very soon. I'm not going to belabor the points in there because they're there for you to read. They're just going to, I guess, cost you, overall points in your grade. I posted again the suggestions document that you should have already seen. Anyway, so this is a review. Don't write a love letter to your home. Dig deeper. Complicate your understandings. I want complex essays. I don't want 8th grade love letters, and I don't want reports. Okay, here we have in item 3 we have a couple of sample essays. Okay, one of my favorite students of all time, Raquela, wrote about this MGK concert. Feel free to check that out. There's this one too by Mickey. This is a very long one. Very long. Let me see. I hope that doesn't give you motion sickness. 5 pages of Mickey was and still is a non-traditional student. She's older than all of us, and so she has sort of the benefits of time and sort of looking into the rearview mirror of her life a little more than you definitely have yet. But still, you can sort of unearth or try to discover the conflicts within your home. I just don't want it like this is the best place ever, and here's why. So anyway, getting here 4.5 minutes in, let's talk about peer review. And I do have an entire screencast on peer review that is not the newest one, but when I really nail a screencast, I like to sort of keep it for a while, for as long as it's useful, because creating these, I hope they look easy, but trust me, they're not. So I try not to make my peer review standards change too much, and to be honest, I haven't really changed my peer review standards since, they've been intact in some basic version or another since I started teaching college, and that was 1999. I really do believe in the power of peer review, and it's of all the things that I do in my classes, I change everything up all the time as much as I'm able, but peer review is one thing that's been sort of a stabilizing force in my pedagogy, my teaching strategies since forever. So if you want to look at the guidelines, they're going to be right here as well. These are a little more stolid. They're a little more, I don't know what I'm trying to say. They're you can find them in a very direct way here. So you got to make at least 6 comments. Don't get hung up on grammar and word choice. Reading your essay once, so many of you are like, oh, my grammar's terrible, so therefore I'm a terrible writer. That's not true at all. Grammar comes with practice, grammatical sort of air quotes correctness. That stuff comes with writing more and understanding the sort of the larger chess game that you play when you enter into discourse communities that aren't your own. That's my fancy way of saying you don't hear many people talk with their accents when they're not around people that don't have their accent. You understand? And writing's is kind of the same way, that you adapt to the audience and the discourse community that you're currently participating in. Well, when you get to college, the discourse community that you're participating in is an educated one that values notions of standard correctness, and so we have to play that game. Anyway, so don't get hung up on the grammar. All that being a very long way of saying don't get hung up on grammar. Let's see. The writer is going to ask questions. You have to answer at least 2 of them. Here are just some ideas on things to look at. But as long as you're responding to the rough draft in a sort of authentic way, you'll be okay by me. You can make the 150-word note at the end, comment. You can type in at the end in a different color, whatever. What's missing is always a good question for rough drafts. And I know if you're going to watch the peer review podcast, the peer review screencast, some of this is going to overlap, but good teaching, as far as I can tell, is repetition. And so maybe you'll watch one of these, maybe you'll watch both. I hope you will. But at least you're going to hear it in 2 different places, or at least one, if you follow my meaning. There are lots of good resources out there. These are my 3 favorite, I guess, especially the Purdue OWL. You can always link if someone's having issues with something that is easily locatable online. Well, then why don't you direct that person to that help? All right, so that's peer review. You're going to add questions to your own rough draft. And again, I go over this already, but you are going to post it. So I'm going to skip a lot of that now. You're going to post it to this SA2 peer review spreadsheet. You're going to put your name, your email, and a link to your rough draft. Now, that link can be dead. You can have it so that no one can see it. And then once you, once the person who is post below you is there, they'll be able to read yours. They can ask you for access, like I have to do for so many of your drafts. You can just grant it to them by typing in their email address. If this all feels a little clunky the first week, that's okay. It will feel less clunky the next time when we get to SA3, searching for causes. Okay, the sooner you provide feedback, the sooner your classmate can get to work on that feedback. And so that's why I make it a sort of, if we go back to the sheet, that's why I make it the first person can peer review as soon as the second person posts. Okay, the second person can post immediately. The third person can post as soon as the second. You see what I'm saying? So as soon as you post your essay, you're able to complete the peer review, which means once we get down here to, I think I have 111 of you. So once student 111 posts, well, they're doing it at the deadline. They're doing it with 5 minutes before the deadline ends, right? 8:55 on Tuesday morning or whatever. Inherently they haven't maybe budgeted their time as well as they could have. That's not always the case, but oh boy, it usually is. And also that means for better or for worse, and usually for worse, that the person above them has sort of done the same thing. They've made the same choices with their time. And so, can I guarantee like all good students will post early and, all students who could be working a little harder will post, late? That's absolutely not the case. Some people like to really, very carefully tend to their essays for a long time before they post. There's a sort of a post anxiety. So some really good students fall into that. And if you're one, please don't let what I'm saying discourage you from that strategy. But and if we can speak in generalizations or in generalities, that's something that I can kind of rely on to be more true than not from semester to semester. So then you will, once you're supposed, you'll do the peer review once you jump into the spreadsheet game. And then an optional thing you can do is you can contact me for early feedback. All you do is just don't email me and say, hey, Steve, can you go check out my rough draft? Just share it with me directly so it pops right into my inbox. As soon as it goes to my inbox, I can click on the link that you're sharing it with, that you're sharing it through, and then I can click on it and look at it as soon as I'm able. As soon as I'm on my laptop or as soon as I'm in my office, I can give you some immediate feedback. If you want me to look at specific aspects of it, that's even better. If you want to ask me specific questions, awesome. If not, I will give it a look and I will give you my impressions, the things that I'll try to point out the things that are working. I will try to help you work through some of the things that could be working better, let's say. So I do have a deadline for that. I do it by the 15th. Make sure that date is correct. Friday the 16th. See? Editing and action. How exciting for you. I knew that date was wrong. And then by Tuesday, the 20th, this all has to happen by Thursday, the 15th. There we go. That's why the mistake was Friday the 16th. I understand how I made that mistake now, and you do too. How exciting. And then your final draft is due on the 20th, which incidentally is my father's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. I doubt you'll ever see this. So you will provide peer review by then, and then we will get on to week 4, which is going to be just a little bit of a sneak peek because we have some time. Okay, you post your final draft then on the 22nd. Peer review, just to be clear, in case you're watching this far in. The 20th is when peer review is due, and then the 22nd is when the final draft is due by that Thursday. So I gave you a couple extra days. To be honest, I usually don't do that, but I always like to build in a little extra crisis management time at the beginning of the semester. And sometimes I do that, and sometimes I don't. I guess I must have decided to do that this semester. So here we are, me looking like a fool at the end. But hey, any teacher who acts like they got it all figured out is a liar and a bad one. So on that note, I will end the screencast and wish you the best of luck in week 3.